think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
That's when we start recording. Start talking about transmission flushing. That's kind of what the Extinction Agenda is, a nice transmission flush.
Nobody knows
Cleansing.
what it is. Nobody knows why you need it, but it just goes down smooth.
Mm-hmm. So nice. This episode, it goes without saying, goes out to the Juggalos and the Juggalettes.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oof,
Yeah,
oof.
we discovered a hidden prejudice that you have, apparently.
No, I have two prejudices, two prejudi. One is Northern Ontario Frenchmen. I'll never forgive them. And the other is Juggalos. Fuck off with.
So wait, can we extend your prejudice into just generally people from Quebec?
Oh, no, I don't have any problem with Quebecois. They're fine.
They're very similar to Northern Ontario French people.
Yeah, but they're not the same, you know? And if you got eyes to see, you see the difference. I see the difference.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not prejudiced against Quebec people either. I'm just curious.
You're just wondering, like, how deep the well goes. You know what? Maybe me and the Quebecois, we don't actually get on, but I don't know that. I feel that we do get on, you know?
Yeah, you feel like you'd make an effort if you were there.
They probably like a good gambit.
I would speak their language. Yeah, that's right. I'd speak their language. I'd enjoy their culture. It'd be great, you know? I went to France. It'll be like that.
So, probably.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the odds that our audience is like at all impacted by this shocking revelation. But
I would imagine
probably
not.
pretty slim.
I don't think so.
I don't feel like we're big in Northern Ontario French communities.
Yeah, and if you're a Juggalo, Juggalette, hit us up.
You know what? Yeah, honestly, like, I wish we knew more Juggalos.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've grown more in tune with Juggalos.
Me and James are pretty tolerant of Juggalos, but not everything.
And I don't want to talk about it because, like, I don't want to punch down, right? And that's all they all ever are.
Oh,
just down. And so I'm not gonna. No, I don't know. I just find the whole thing really, like, at the end of the day, fine. I'm not actually prejudiced against Juggalos. That's just funny talk, right? But
you like Juggalos then?
I don't. No, I don't. I think there's something that irks me about them, which is their, like I said, their know nothingism and their, like, shameless, fucking ridiculous conformism. Like, they're a bunch of stupid people who just conform and you know, like, just reach down as far as possible to the lowest common denominator and just, like, kind of enjoy that. And, like, I'm like, okay, great, fine. That's a thing that you can do. But on the other hand, like, that's probably those things are really bad human traits, and I could do without them.
They're not really conforming. They're the most unique group ever, really, of Juggalos.
They are.
Follow-up question: how do you feel about
Sure.
the Kiss Army, and is it substantially different from Juggalos?
Like, I don't think the know nothingism is attached to the Kiss Army, right? Like, that's what really bugs me. Just this willful ignorance with respect to society and it's fine. It's a counterculture. It's whatever. Like, fine. But out of all the countercultures, I just find it the most irksome. And, you know, I pray that my son never becomes a Juggalo. Because it's gonna be a real test for me in life.
I'd say the odds are not good for him becoming Juggalo, if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah, no, it's not a real nightmare that I have. You know, I don't, like, wake up in cold sweats. No.
Just avoid the Midwest. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, that's probably it. Is that the primary?
I feel like that's. Yeah, I think that's true.
So what brought this on? This rant of mine was you shared with us something from the Daily Show where someone went to, they do that fucking thing where they go into a crowd of idiots and they ask serious questions of them and get ridiculous responses. And yeah, they did that with the. So was that like one of the Insane Clown Posse in that final interview at the end? I was kind of
Yeah, that was
That's
Violent
right.
J.
Okay, all right. And yeah, man, that's so dumb. It's just it really upsets
I honestly didn't find it as funny as it could have been. It was sadly like they were sadly grounded in their it was almost depressing. I don't know,
Yes.
there's something odd about it.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, fine. Like what am I supposed to say to that? They're okay. So what audience members, what they're talking about is like, hey, who are you voting for? And they're like, oh, I never voted in my life. And the people, they're not working for me. They're, and all I'm hearing is like shitty, apathetic, working class nonsense bullshit. And again, it's a desire to like just abnegate any responsibility for one's life in society. And
so like normal people.
yeah, but there's not normal people, right? Not only do they have this like apathetic working class bullshit attitude towards politics, which could, like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They dress like idiots and make a point of a badge of honor of not understanding what's going on in the world.
Despite having clear positions, like all the things that they say should align on one side, but
yeah.
I'm going to table it this way. I knew a juggalo, a real one time.
Okay. Yeah.
I worked overnights at Walmart in my younger years.
Fucking right.
And I'll tell you where that feeling about life will come from.
It'll come from the Walmart.
You have to be there working in the night at the Walmart to know what it's like to say, I'm not fucking voting.
I'll buy that.
And I'm never gonna I too worked at night at not a Walmart, but I mean I worked jobs too, guys.
I know. I'm just saying, like, you never subscribed to it when you were there. You never felt down low.
No,
of course.
I've never.
You're like, I'm voting. That's it. I'm exercising my right.
No. When I was younger, I did the cynical poseur thing where and that's fine, but you give that up at a certain point. You don't make it your like fucking center ideology. And I was influenced by I was influenced by fucking Robert Anton Wilson, in the days of Bush Gore when there was the corporations are just the meme at the time was that corporations were giving equal amounts of money to each side, so it didn't really matter who you voted for. And that was persuasive to like 19-year-old James, right? And at a certain point that ceased to be a meaningful statement, one, I don't think it's true. And then two, politics matters. Obviously I've sort of radicalized as I aged, which is why I hate juggalos now in a way that I didn't probably when I was younger, but
radicalized
in my social democratic fervor. Anyway, at the end of the day, they're kids, but they're not all kids. I think maybe that's what bugs me the most is like it's something that one could like just kind of fucking lose their life to. It's worse than marijuana, man.
Jesus.
Worse than hippies.
The more I talk, the more. Yeah, I'm the old person in the group. That's
there you
that's
go.
What's being written here. This is the equivalent of getting locked out of my account.
How do you feel? How do you feel goddamn porn star hippies?
Oh man, get off my fucking lawn with those people, man. I don't want them on my property. I don't want them talking to my wife. Definitely not.
Especially not scantily clad.
Yeah, filming porno. here on the Extinction Agenda, where we film pornography for the mind, with James.
Wow, James.
And Chris.
Uh-huh. That's right.
I
Shameless.
was still laughing about that. Yeah, that was good.
You like that?
I did. Good transition.
So today we're talking Ty West's. We're going to do the whole trilogy, but we're starting with X.
Right.
Came out in 2002. What else? What else is there to say about this? 2022. That's right. And written, directed by Ty West, produced by Ty West, and a bunch of other fucking people. Soundtrack by Tyler Bates and Chelsea Wolfe. Just want to say that because I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk to it. It came out in March 2022. And Ty West's birthday was October 5th, I think. So he's a 40-year-old man, or 44-year-old man now. October 5th, 1980.
Oh my God.
His real name is Timon C. West. Looks like a fucking dipshit.
Well, that's what happens when you're 44, trust me.
Yeah, just look in the mirror, James.
Oh, Jesus.
So his partner, though, is literally named Allison Wonderland. No, she's known professionally as Allison Wonderland. Okay, good. Whew. I was worried that she had a name that from parents who are practical jokers.
Like Apple?
X. Yeah, that kind of thing. X, I watched it in 2022. It was pretty all right. It was good stuff. It got my honorable mentions that year, for whatever the fuck that means. James, you've seen this for like the first time?
Yeah. This is my first go at it.
How'd you feel? Because I know Chris. How many times have you seen it, Chris?
This is my third time.
Your third time. Okay, all right. So you've got some hours under the belt. Yeah, James, how'd you feel about this one?
I dig it. I like the I like the 70s style and the Texas Chainsaw nod sort of little cinematography and sheriff sort of like mockumentary sort of deal at the beginning. Nice little thing. And then it obviously had a little more sauce, a little more plot than a normal splatter movie, a little more character development, which is fun too, because then there's some stakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't think I appreciated it until I read that Mia Goth was also Pearl. I didn't even realize, which is really, honestly, I realized it was a younger actress, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. It didn't occur to me that it was anyone in the show doing double duty at the time.
Right.
So I do find that really cool, and also that's a lot of fun. And then it's now led me to believe it's piqued my interest in seeing the rest of the trilogy, because I like the idea of going back to revisit Pearl's life for some sick shit, and then doubling back over to the sequel for the third movie. So that's a lot of fun, like a little chronological mix up. But yeah, the movie I think gained some steam for me because I hadn't watched the last probably half hour.
Okay.
And then that's when I found out that Mia Goth was playing both roles, and then I got absolutely fucking grossed out for the sex scene, and I was like, wow, congratulations on all of this shit,
Yeah.
Just a lot of good work, a lot of good fun. I don't know.
Okay,
age
cool.
is the real enemy here.
Yeah,
Age?
well, that's what we're learning.
Yeah,
you get locked out of accounts. You insist upon voting.
I know, and I mean, approaching that middle age mark too, you can't help but like wonder about like being fucking a weird, gross old person. And what kind of like awkward shit you're gonna go through staring at yourself in the mirror, and like thanks for bringing that right onto my plate there.
Yeah,
that's kind of dark.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts though this time watching it. Yeah, because age comes for us all, and this movie very much wants to put that front and center. They tied into questions of fame and desires for attention and so on and so forth, but yeah,
I think it's it's sympathetic, even though it pokes a lot of fun at its characters. It's having a lot of fun along the way, but I think that there is something sincere about its compassion for like just the loss of beauty and what that means for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. So Chris, you really enjoyed this movie. This was a thing that you gave I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you liked it a lot. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons we're doing the trilogy. So yeah, hit us with it. What's your take? What you like so much?
I mean, there's so much. Like, I feel like watching it 3 times, I find more under the hood every time. And I really feel like this is one of my top movies of the last, like, at least 5 years. I'd say like probably like decade for sure. And beyond. But I think it's a really smart movie. I think the more you look at it, the more it's doing really interesting things with its love of filmography, like just like formalism. I think Ty West just shows that he's just a student of film with this, and it's just like a real fan. But and there's so many meta, everything that they say about filming an X-rated movie reflects back on horror, which is the actual genre that's being filmed. And it's just so smart how it goes about its business. There's a lot I want to get into, but those are my just some initial thoughts, I guess. And the idea of the slasher too, like, I mean, just like it's so subversive. It's constantly turning its themes over on its head. And I'm sure I know I always say this, but we will get into that.
We're definitely going to get to it, man. Anyway, no, I see what you're talking, and definitely there's some there's tons of Tarantino. There's your De Palma, there's your Texas Chainsaw, there's your Golden Age of porn stuff
Psycho.
Going on. Just this stuff's there to just be immediately recognized. I went and I was a little curious about what Ty West did before this. I know that they did those VHS movie, that VHS movie, and that Your Next movie. I think I've seen Your Next. Is that the one where the girl beats the shit out of people, or?
I'm not sure about that one. I haven't seen that.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
House of the Devil made a splash when it came out because it was a very faithful 70s recreation. Okay. I liked that movie. I didn't love it, but stylistically, it was really cool.
I went and watched a little bit of the movie he did before this, which was called In the Valley of Violence, starring fucking Ethan Hawke. Oh, just painful. But great cast. Ethan Hawke, Karen Gillan, John Travolta.
Oh wow.
But it's just not so good. And it's mostly because Ethan Hawke just fucking sucks. I've come to that conclusion.
I don't remember VHS very fondly either.
Oh, the movie? Okay.
Yeah.
So VHS?
Yeah. Written, directed, produced, edited, all that stuff.
Huh.
Okay. Found footage anthology film. Blah, blah, blah.
I know him. Oh yeah, okay. I know him from The Innkeepers, House of the Devil. I feel like those are pretty big horror movies in a way, but I haven't seen any of the other stuff.
So anyway, I just none of that is to this movie obviously, it's just I was surprised because this movie has a tone and an attitude and a vibe, right? Which strikes me as at least with that Valley of Violence, you see all the strong Tarantino bits at play, like that love of American cinema and mixed with some European shit. But this movie actually feels substantial in comparison to In the Valley of Violence, which just felt very light and almost goofy. This movie manages to, I think I already used the word, it has weight, right? And you fall into this world and you like all the characters, and no one's shitty in this movie. Maybe some of their choices are stupid, but everybody's character is pretty well defined, even if they're sort of stock characters. Well, they're not stock characters though, are they? But they're not fully realized individuals, but they're characters, right? They're recognizable as people with traits that are unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, James.
No, I was just gonna say I guess that's part of for me that was part of the slow build, is like if you give that full hour without grotesque splatter, you can give this, you can give that, like that, whatever, it's that feeling that you want to like vouch for people, that you don't want people to die. And if you give it that much character build, you can give that feeling for every single person on cast. So you're like, even though you know what's coming.
Yeah, they even make that sly kind of allusion to that, like when they have that conversation, like because they're constantly poking fun of the ambitions of the crew. Like I didn't shoot it as pornography. I shot it as film, as cinema, and like they're like, oh yeah, good, keep doing that then. But they talk about how, like when they have that conversation, which is really important, like pivotal scene in the movie when what's Jenna Ortega is kind of asking them, like, oh, why do you do what you do? And her boyfriend's trying to defend, like what they're doing, and he wants to make a movie that's art. And they talk about Psycho, and he says like Psycho, like that. Well, you can't just change the thing like halfway through, which is exactly what they then do in this film. Like it suddenly flips into full horror mode.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because every time RJ talks about making an artistic film, he's immediately like shot down or demeaned, or it's shown that like somebody like what was her name, the blonde,
Bobby Lynn Parker.
Yeah, Bobby Lynn even says, hey, why don't you just angle the camera up? It looks like he's using his dick to fill up the van. Just like, see, I got a good eye too. And it's just like he's constantly undermined. And it just honestly, like every time they do that and they get a better shot, it just shows that you have great difficulty shooting art out of a horror movie. It's like almost like an analogy for that. It's funny, I thought.
Yeah.
For sure.
I do know that at this, so I did wonder why they're filming, like they're setting this story in 1979, and I can't for the life of me figure out why that particular year, because Debbie Does Dallas had already come out, like all sorts of, I'm not a master, like there was the golden age of porn, and like all that shit was kind of coming out already in the early 70s, right? I guess there's going to be 35 millimeter stuff like going into the 80s. And I guess that's what we're really focusing on, is like the birth of the home, like they even explicitly mention it, like the home video.
The home market.
Yeah. Which I get, is again analogous to the horror genre, like you got your video nasties, Thatcher's coming to power at this time in Britain, Iranian Revolution is occurring. I just thought there would be more of like, I guess I hoped that it would be more than just like it's 1979 because that's a pivotal moment in direct to home video. I thought there would be some sort of larger political valence, but I really don't think that there is.
Well, no, but I think that is the point though, is that it's the idea of stardom, it's like an internet promise, like like this is going to democratize the process, like regular people will become household names, and that drive towards fame and glamour, and I haven't seen Maxine yet actually, so I'm interested. But
me neither. Me neither.
It feels like there's that constant tension of like, here's your ambition, but like we all know that like, Boogie Nights is all about that, right? Like you're not going to break into the mainstream typically through porn, so like there's a I don't know, a harsh ceiling to the American dream maybe coming.
Yeah, I suppose so. Although I have watched the trailers for Maxine, and I think maybe not. Like there was a period when, this too is a period, as I understand it, when there was a bit of a crossover between, so-called, like adult actresses and acting and that kind of thing. But it was still very stigmatized, but it was something still that happened. and that moment would have been happening, as I understand it, like as this movie's being in the setting of this movie, right? So maybe it makes more. It does. Maybe Maxine Minx's motivation does make sense in that context, but
Yeah, I
no.
would think sort of like Pam Anderson's probably the upper echelon of what you would call like that type of thing, where like, and even that she didn't even make money off from it.
No,
that was a lot. That was a lot later too. But I still think like I'm more with. I don't know if you felt that way actually, Chris, but I think there's a ceiling on pornography in mainstream where there wasn't like really, there's like a great porn actress that was able to just like break through and walk around on a red carpet. I don't think that ever happened. I think they were popularized. Maybe there was like sort of a golden age for popularity where like income and popularity, but I can't imagine the amount of like horrors they would go through.
I can't think of an example either.
Yeah, the Sasha Grey managed to make some movies after doing her whatnot. She ended up on TV.
True. But much
Girlfriend
later.
Experience.
Like, much.
Yeah. But it's so rare. You're just like, Anyway, about the movie.
Good example.
Yeah. I don't know. It's sad that came to mind so quickly, but the yeah. So like I don't. They're starting off. They're in a production, like there's an industrialization. Like I definitely saw a lot of, we've already said this, but the Texas Chainsaw stuff, like they go out of their way to really signpost the meat, and the industrialization and all that stuff.
It is Texas. It's Houston.
Yeah. But even when they arrive on their driving over to the farm or whatever, like it's just cows everywhere. And there's that splattered cow on the highway or whatever, and you do that in that moment, I think, is when we're starting to like the making that correlation between horror and sex, like the violence of horror and the climax of sex, and the penetration of sex and all that sort of thing. Like the euphemism of using someone like a piece of meat. They're a piece of meat to you. And how people are just sort of used up and discarded in a lot in any industry, but and how that sort of, I don't know, I'm not sure how that corresponds with horror movies though, other than like the horror movie is obviously violent and bloody, and people are treated like meat, and there's a bunch of stabbing, which is penetrative. But I think the mirroring it with pornography, like when you're talking about the pornography industry, it is more like you're more talking about the material realities of film and the way it uses people, and you lay horror on top of that. And I don't even know what this fucking thought is. Like you create an analogy between like how the industry treats humans and how horror movies treat bodies. I'm not sure if I stuck the landing on that thought, but
kind of, yeah, I feel it. And then you can layer in the grotesquerie of advanced age.
Yeah, well, and then how does age fit into that, right? Like,
well, yeah, because you're like to me that's like layering all of the different types of body horrors I could go through.
Right. That's interesting. Let's go to the pivotal scene that you had identified, Chris, because I do agree. Like there is like there's the church mouse girl, Lorraine Day, and she is the faithful assistant to RJ, the aspiring art house. Yeah. Who's gonna start in pornography, which is a thing that happened at the time. Like artsy pornography was definitely a thing.
She's also the faithful girlfriend.
Yeah, and then at a certain point, like Yeah, and she's been watching all the pornography and stuff, and at first she's uncomfortable, and he's like, oh, why are you such, he kind of puts her down, and then she decides, like, she wants to be in the film, and when he's like, no, and she turns it back on him. When did you turn in such a prude? So anyway, she does the film, and Buddy freaks out. And we can talk about how much I hate Lorraine. But that anxiety, like that, like what RJ goes through in that moment is very much like a body horror thing, in the sense that, like, there was the anxiety of filming that, like, he's very uncomfortable with the fact that she wants to be in the film. And not only does she want to be in the film and have sex on the camera, he's the cameraman,
Right.
and he's got to do it, because he wants to be a star, right? He too wants to be a star, so he's like, I'm going to buckle up, I'm going to do it, and he breaks. And at that moment, like, we'd already seen the sympathetic portrayal of elderly desire. But this is the moment when she just starts fucking stabbing him in the fucking throat over and over, and there's like this
Right.
spraying of blood everywhere, and it just turns gross real fast. So you go from, like, an anxious feeling, like a strong emotional feeling, to, like, just, now we're in a horror movie. Let's go.
Yeah.
Fucking decapitates him.
I think there's so much to get into with that scene, though, because, like, I guess my first question is, I think the movie, really hinges on whether or not you think so, like, up until this point, again, as I've said, you've kind of had sort of a lot of sort of humor at the expense of the actors and things like that. But I think this scene really humanizes, like, it turns the corner, and if you take what they say as sincere, and I kind of do, because there's a really interesting discussion about, it starts off as Church Mouse asks, like, why do you do this? Isn't it uncomfortable to see your partner sleep with other people? And then they get into the talk about how, first the director's like, or the producer's like, as long as the camera's running, the camera changes things. It's not real life, it's just a movie. So then they start talking about how, like, they are sort of the real, like, the blonde says, like, everybody likes sex. We're the ones who admit it. And then she says, like, the fact of the matter is we turn folks on. It scares them. I think there's something really sincere about the way the film presents that. Like, there is something subversive or like upending about feminine desire that's being worked out there. And I think RJ is really hypocritical. Like, to that point, he's been an observer. He does have an attitude of condescension towards the starlets. Like, those are later on when the producer takes him aside. He's like,
those bad girls. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a nice girl, and he's like, like, oh, like they aren't. And he's just like, let me tell you something. None of them are nice girls. But like, that
was a nice moment.
It was a nice line, yeah. I think RJ is kind of a patriarchal figure in this, and he's sort of controlling the film and controlling the nature of the experience. But then when it comes back to him and, like, the things that he's telling her about, like, it's okay to shoot this movie because we're doing this and this, and, like, it's going to be liberating and blah, blah, blah. She's like, okay, like, I want in. And then he's forced to deal with his real attitudes, and it doesn't go well.
That's fine. And I don't disagree with any of that, but I mean, from a practical, emotional standpoint, like, you don't blindside your boyfriend in a crowded environment and use their words against them, and then do it
exactly, because she has no regard for, like, the long-term consequences of just spontaneous deciding, like, let me in.
Oh no, and then afterwards she's like, oh, I don't want to break up with them, and you're like, you are the stupidest fucking. And so, like, and I think I'm concerned that there's a way in which what you said cuts against you, with regard to this movie. Like, things go bad when female desire is awakened.
No.
Okay.
Well, yes, things go bad. Things go
Yeah.
bad when. So actually, they have that line. Actually, they say that in this encounter,
Mhm.
where I think Maxine says like, you can't just keep that stuff pushed down. Like, it's not good. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
And Pearl is actually the example of what happens when that repression is pushed down for like a long time. Like she's like the eruption of that. So I think
That's fair, but when does the eruption occur? Like the eruption only occurs after there's been the when the nice girl has sex, right? You know, like it is the classic horror movie sort of thing. The virgin doesn't remain a virgin, and as a consequence, you know, all hell breaks loose. And yeah, like I just think the timing of Pearl's eruption is meaningful and maybe cuts, to my mind, like to an extent cuts against like what the movie is trying to do, because I do hear what you're saying, and I do think that you have a point, but I think there's a tension in, and I don't know why, you know, Ty West strikes me as, you know, kind of a smart fella. I'm sure there's a lot going on in their mind, and maybe there's some sort of explanation, you know, if you ask the author. But all I can say is that like I detect a sort of tension in the timing of the eruption of violence. And yeah, that's all.
I think there's more. I definitely have more to say about that. But James, did you want to weigh in for?
I honestly think that I have a hard time with that, because Mia Goth, her desire is so fucking backwards. She's literally just snorting coke, fucking giving herself self-affirmations in a mirror about how she's a fucking absolute star and a sex symbol.
Yeah.
And her toxic base desires sort of like disconnect from all of those things. And then not to mention, I'm pretty sure fucking RJ feels the producer's cock at one point. There's like so many things detracting from that, like that being like a linear thing. I don't know.
That's
Oh,
fair.
I see. Well, it's not as cut and dry, but I guess what the reason Chris and I are focusing so much on, like, because it is the moment when everything changes. Like when
You're right. It's the moment when almost the theme changes, or the overall film theme changes.
Yeah.
Which is the gag that's sort of like foreshadowed.
Yeah. Okay, Chris. So yeah.
I do have a thought that, or a line of thought that unites that, and I think that the answer is that, like in Pearl, where to even start? Like she reflects. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like it kind of ties into that meta thing where, and I think the formalism of the film where you have almost the two genres of movies represent two states of mind. So I think there's obviously porn is like Eros and Thanatos,
Right.
Being horror.
Okay.
And so that scene with the lemonade, like when she first sees Maxine,
Mm-hmm.
and has that strong desire for her.
Right.
The film, like it's almost like two movies being shot parallel. Like, you know, she gets invited in for lemonade, and like it's a horror show, but like then you see the porn version of that, of like the come on in, the farmer's daughter, like, oh
Yeah,
like, he
yeah.
wants to, yeah. So it's like it's almost showing you two versions of the same event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is a really smart parallel, and like this movie does an excellent job of that, of paralleling things, and even goes out of it, like when Mia's finally fucking, like, and Pearl's in the window, you know, watching, and we get like literal cuts between the two things, or when like, or even before the pivotal moment, when you have not Maxine, Pearl, she's just tried to sleep with her similarly elderly husband, and he's like, I can't, my heart, and And she's all sad. She's wiping off her makeup, and they're singing that Fleetwood Mac track, which is both hokey, but also like, it does the work that you want it to do. But yeah, like the parallels. I wonder, but those parallels stop at the pivotal moment, which is fine. But I mean, like, is there something about that? Is it like the parallels, the two universes are coming to interact with each other?
I think in Pearl they are together at the same time. Like she is, like she's violence and sex. She's a serial killer. In fact, that scene where when she first sees Mia Goth, sort of first sees herself, I guess. I mean, even the fact that they are the same actress, like there's a sort of like mimetic narcissistic desire implied in that. But she's floating in that pond, and the gator's approaching her slowly. That gator is Pearl's libido. Like it's the unconscious, like the reptilian brain that's like latched onto her and is coming after her, and it's like it wants to devour her in both, like in all senses.
Yeah.
So I think that's like that repression of those instincts. And I think one fun, like really fun, like there's a lot of really clever kind of jokes in this movie. Like the farmer's daughter is the name of their film. Do you remember that joke in Mr. Show?
No.
Okay, so they have
sorry.
Episode. Yeah, they have this whole
episode. I wish I did.
It's like a classic thing. So like basically this like traveling salesman comes to this farmer's house. He's like, I can put you up for the night. You got to stay in the barn. There are 3 holes there. You got to do me a favor. Don't stick your dick in any of the holes. And so he does, of course, put his dick in the first hole. It feels really good. The second hole, amazing. So he's like the third hole, tries it out, and it's just like the worst pain he's ever had. And so in the morning, the farmer's like, well, the first hole is my wife. The second is my daughter. The third is a milk machine that won't stop until you get like 4 quarts or something like that. So yeah. So like they're like, he's consciously using that joke, like that sort of curiosity, like playing off. And again, like that's the farmer in that story is like the porn version of the patriarch, right? But it's like, it's this sort of like cheeky thing. Right. Whereas like Howard, like in the horror version, he's trying to repress his wife's desire, but it's purely because he can't handle her. Like he'll die if he gives her what she wants. Fucking hilarious.
Yeah. That's interesting. And obviously he's been, I can't, I've been trying to give you what you want. There's like, getting back to what you said about sympathy, like there is a sympathy in there, like I even though they're serial killers and whatnot, fine. Like this isn't high art, or like high drama, like high literature, so like that. We're not talking about well-rounded things. I'm just repeating what I said earlier, but you get glimpses of their life together when during the lemonade or just before the lemonade scene, like you're looking at Pearl's old photos and she's a dancer and she's, there's the old wedding photo or whatever, and you really get the sense that there was like 2 individuals who lived a long life together, and it's gone bad because Pearl is fucking insatiable in the way that Maxine Minx is insatiable.
Yeah, but he could I think I take it that for the longest time he was able to like sort of control the bloodlust by just performing his duties or whatever. But now he can't, and it's going out of control.
Well, there's the body in the basement with the where the crotch and the midriff's been all like worn out and bruised. Did you pick up on that?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I did not. I'm gonna find that very quickly here.
It's fucking grotesque. And I was like, I actually had to go back, like double back on it, just to be like, oh my god, like fucking he captured this guy, brought him down in the basement so that fucking Pearl could satiate herself, and he like basically worn himself out to a bruised, bloody corpse just right on the crotch. And then I'm imagining that's why the cowboy guy was originally rented the cottage, because he was going to go down the tubes, and that's when Howard goes, well, you didn't say you were bringing all these people with you.
Oh, I didn't catch that, but yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, okay.
But
Good point.
little
Yeah.
little I don't know, there's a lot of little nice little treats along the way. I think I'm gonna have to go over it a couple more times too. I like what you're saying, Chris. I see that reptile now, and now I'm thinking like I had the wrong take on the on sexuality and like in the that reptile brain sort of chasing her there.
Yeah, and even when the blonde dies and like she gets eaten by the gator, but like she Pearl like freaks out on her. It's like says something, you don't have the right to flaunt it in my face, or like it's that resentment of like not being able to draw people in anymore.
And early on at the beginning of the movie, she's like, lots of people pay lots of money for what I got. Like she basically says like I should flaunt it, and there is something. They are the flip sides of each other, like on the one hand, yeah, sure, all power to you, lady, flaunt it. But on the other hand, like it is going to breed resentment amongst certain individuals, and particularly individuals who are crusty as a consequence of having lost their ability to flaunt it. At the center of this movie is not just desire, and not just the desire to fuck, but the desire to not like to be a star, to have this insatiable desire for attention, and also pleasure. Those all those things are sort of intertwined. Like the act of fucking is just as important as the act of being seen well, if not well fucking, but then well performing. And yeah, that encounter between the two of them is I don't know how the lizard brain works into that shit, but I mean that's where all that resentment comes from. I would imagine if we accept the lizard brain hypothesis here.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that it's like one of the things that this movie wants to say or is like getting into is that like they're constantly followed by that preacher on the television, like almost like a fever dream, like it's on everywhere, and that's it's almost like the like it's just like the sort of cultural wars, just like interpreting, like I think at one point the preacher saying that our overly sexual society is the cause of our current evils, but really I think one of the things that this movie is saying is that like that stuff is just deep inside of us, and like the like tying it into film again, like the desire to see those sorts of things like is just something that is like at a base building block and you can't escape it, and if you try to pretend that it's not there, then like you're just going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and the real murderous sex fiends are the old people from 1920 or whatever. That's right. I haven't seen Pearl in a long time, so like I'm a little fuzzy, but I do recall it takes place in the olden days.
About that time, yeah, you're not wrong.
And and there's sort of an irony to that, it's not our current sexualized society. Like this gets to what you're saying, like it's like it's our society, a Freudian reading goes a long way. Hearing you talk like this, I guess that it always goes a long way with horror.
It's true.
Yeah, but
I still have a fun time with the age thing too. The age thing bothered me through the whole movie because Brittany Snow too is the actress that, so she's older, like optically older than Mia Goth character, right? So and then
which one's Brittany Snow? The blonde?
The blonde, yeah. And then so she's banging Kid Cudi, and then they go through that sequence where she's faking the orgasm, and to me she just like, as it goes on, and the same thing when Pearl throws her in the lake and she's like, you're fucking used up, but like the whole thing is that like she's aging now, and she's an aged whore, an aged porn actress. She's faking her orgasms. It's about maintaining her sexy visibility for her. So she's enjoyment's gone, like the desire's gone. She's like a shell of it. So it's this it's this baby church mouse to this desirable sex symbol that still exudes sexual energy and enjoys it, to this like shell of someone that's sort of still clinging on to it, and then obviously the final product, the pearl, like this, just like this age line from like it's just like really deeply bothered me, like in considering like your sexual degradation and the stages you'd go through.
That's really interesting. I wouldn't have made the connection with what's her name, Snow. I only wrote down her Bobby Lynn. Her, I wouldn't have taken her as, fine, she's faking it, but that's part of the film. I mean, they fake it in real porn. By FYI, James.
What?
What? And I didn't. I got a joie de vivre from her. She really enjoyed life. Nothing about her struck me as hollow at all. Cynical, perhaps. World weary to an extent, but also, she also sings that Fleetwood Mac track. And I think that's the the landslide brought me down. And maybe that speaks to the sense that you got, like that idea.
I might have taken my age thing too far here.
Yeah, well, maybe. But okay. So having said that, I'm picking up what you're putting down, though. There is a trajectory there, and but I think it's primarily allowed by the fact that, or not allowed, but like sort of and easier to track, because Pearl and Maxine are the same person in a way, like literally, in terms of actress. But I think, like, I'm really curious about Maxine the movie, and I've put off watching it because I know we're going to talk, but I just want to know how far this analogy goes, and like, are we going to hear any more about Pearl and
the fact that she's the preacher's daughter, as it's revealed.
Yeah. And that is somehow meaningful, but I can't, within the context of this movie, it is interesting. Her affirmations are like, they mirror her preacher father's sort of gospel aspirations. Like, I do not deserve or I do not. What does he say about, like, I deserve a life?
I do not accept a life I did not deserve, or something like that.
There we go. And yeah, there is. Anyway, who knows what's going to happen with Pearl? But that link is so interesting. That evangelical to porn to the American dream link, because you could very well like the prosperity gospel, right? That's all that shit, right? That embrace of capitalism.
Yeah,
all that stuff. And it's, and it comes from it's just interesting that it makes sense that she's rebelling against a patriarchy, but she's also like internalized that attitude and is manifesting it differently. And I feel that the third movie is definitely going to pick up on that thread. Like, it's gotta.
I hope so. Yeah. I've heard people have been disappointed by it, but I feel like I'm hopeful that, like, I'll, because we'll see something that makes it make sense.
Have you done any I didn't do, it wasn't a good time. Like, I like this movie a lot, and usually I do more research, but in this case I didn't have time.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I just read briefly on Wikipedia is that, like, because of COVID and delays in production, that's kind of why the trilogy ended up happening. Because he had some extra time to write a script, because they were in New Zealand filming or some shit.
I read a few interviews. That's interesting. I didn't know that it wasn't planned to be. I heard that he, like, banged out the script while they were delayed in filming, and he announced, like, sort of shortly after it was released that he had produced this. So yeah, I guess I hadn't put it together, but that does kind of make sense, because then what I'd read said that Mia Goth was, like, enthusiastic about, like, continuing the role. So yeah, I guess it wasn't originally a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did read a little bit but it was very minimal, just like sort of just in an article, that Pearl wasn't planned. He came up with the idea while filming this, and they started filming Pearl like 3 days after or something. And I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
So that's all. That's as much as I took away, though.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible because like Pearl is a very like I'm very it's a different sort of movie. Some weird shit happens, really man. Yeah,
I'm pretty fired up about it.
It's looser.
Yeah. I like I know we're not there yet, but I'm preemptively impressed that they just like rolled from one and right into the other, because like it doesn't seem like you could do that. But
this guy's like, I don't know if we didn't really I don't have a lot of technical knowledge of cinematography or whatever, but like I don't know if you guys have ever scrolled through just on IMDb, like in any audience, people listening to this, if anybody listens to this, go on IMDb. There's 471 photos from the movie. It is outrageous. The still images, like the shots he was able to capture, it's gorgeous. It's like a fucking photo album. Like you don't even need to see the movie. Like it's just outrageous how beautiful the still images that he was able to score from this like it's so gritty and 70s, all of his like true to life like things that they did to make sure that it kept that 70s vibe, all the little touches in the house, the decorations, the items they used, the vehicles, great work and everything. But when you see it just as still images, it's unbelievable.
That's interesting. While you were talking, I looked up the cinematographer, this Elliot Rickett fella. He does all the X movies. He did The Innkeepers, House of the Devil. So he works with Tyrest all the time, apparently.
Yeah, maybe it's like a dream team thing. I don't know.
Yeah. He also works in TV and stuff. Anyway, okay, yeah. I'm looking at the pictures you're talking about. Yeah. It's a great, like, again, it has a gravity to it that is missing, and like maybe that's the sauce. I think it gets that A24 push too.
Yeah,
like I don't think that's why it's pretty good, but I'm not surprised that it comes out from that.
When you talk about the gravity, the one thing I did dig up when I was looking at this interview, I think it was in Rue Morgue, one of those horror magazines. He talks about how here's a quote, like, I wanted to make a project that was a love letter to movies in a way, and that would highlight all the crafts from prosthetics and practical makeup effects to acting to the possibility of doing more than one thing as an actor to an interesting score, etc. So it was like that there was a conscious effort to do effects, to do practical effects. Like I read how they the scene where she just stabs basically RJ's head
with
off
the protracted
so they did that with a false a model head, and then they had the actor kind of slip in there so that it could look like he was still twitching afterwards. So yeah, a lot of attention to detail, a lot of real craft there.
I wondered how they did the alligators. Like the first time we see the alligator watching Maxine floating in the water, I was like, that's probably not an alligator actor. So how did you do that?
There was a specialist I read, he's somebody who'd worked with alligators in other films.
You think
I can't remember. No, I'm not
look
sure.
Sinister in the water.
It was a well-coached alligator.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I can't remember if it was real or not or whatever. Yeah. What do you guys think of the the kind of almost like the end of this movie is almost funny, like the sort of the final couple of kills and all that? From Howard having the heart attack to
to me that's some I don't know, I saw little Shining there coming through the door, and then I'm seeing a little bit of Evil Dead vibes with that shotgun. There's some camp.
There's a lot of camp.
Kid Cudi's hammer hanging down. What the fuck? No one caught that? Just me?
Oh no, I caught that. Yeah, I don't
That's
know
just-
who Kid Cudi is.
That
Is that
he's
the
a
actor?
rapper. Yeah, the actor.
Oh, I see.
Jackson.
But
Okay.
yeah, but
Yeah.
he's a great rapper. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a prosthetic thing, but I thought
That was a huge dick, man. That was
honestly,
fucking gigantic.
Like, congratulations.
That was the Boogie Nights thing, though.
If it was
Yeah.
not a prosthetic, but I think it was because it was honestly just too hilarious to not be. But
Well, how can
Yeah.
you have a dick that big? That's crazy. It's just hanging there. What do you get an erection and it just like sticks out like a foot? You know,
We'll
It
get
is
to the bottom of
unusable.
this.
But yeah, I did catch a lot of camp. Maybe not right away, but like you say, on those last couple of kills, it got pretty mental. To where it was lighthearted.
we even get like a funny version of Chekhov's gun, where like the shotgun shows up at the beginning of the movie, and they're talking to the old man's like, get off my property, and he's like, oh, it's actually not loaded, and the producer guy, he's like, oh yeah, I got one in my glove compartment, it is also not loaded, he says.
That's right.
Yeah, and then later in the movie, they have that show off where like that showdown where
the gun in the glove box
Yeah.
is not loaded, but somehow
Yeah.
the rifle has endless shots.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's a whole
Yeah.
But getting to your camp point, I just watched the scene where Pearl shoots the rifle and she just goes flying through the fucking door.
So good.
It was horrible though when Lorraine's trying to escape from the basement and the guy comes in and he just like smashes her fucking fingers and like,
They're just hanging
was
on by it.
dangling.
yeah, like this like compound fracture through her finger.
There's some good shock moments of violence. So like especially when Pearl's head gets run over at the end.
Oh yes, like the cow at the beginning of the
like
movie.
The cow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That's your tie-in of the this discarded meat by the end of it. And she's
Yeah,
screaming at her the whole time, like, you whore, like you're not special. You're gonna end up just like me.
Yeah, and that's the promise of Maxine, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
like,
the disregarded knife in the tire also.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that too, actually.
why would the knife in the tire really make a difference? Like, there's,
Well,
fine, it would go thump, 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 but
Yeah, you'd be
still
driving
drive.
along on the rim. You could hobble it away for sure.
oh wait, no, she drives off in the in a truck, not in the van. She takes the farmer's truck.
I
and
thought
that's
she
why
backed
there's
her
no-
over. I thought she backed her over with the van.
No, I'm looking at it right now. It's the I guess it's their truck. She took the keys from them for their
Oh.
vehicle.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, knife in the tire taken care of, man. Then she does some fucking coke.
My bad. I should have known. They're a little
Oh yeah, there
cleaner.
you go. Powered up with the Coke.
Yeah. The
oh,
fuel.
like, that cover of Wee Wee Marie, fucking amazing. Which is also the song that I noticed this like finally that she starts dancing to, doing her little interpretive dance after she kills RJ. But it's like a 1918 version of that song, which is about like a soldier who falls like hopelessly in love with a French girl he can't talk to. So like again, it's that sort of like the glamour of that, like really and then to like dirty that up for the final scene. That's smart too.
Interesting. So when in the final music when she's driving off, is that another version of that song?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, fascinating. Okay,
Yeah, it's a
because I can't
cover
hear it
of,
right now. It's like okay, all right. I think I'm a big Chelsea Wolfe fan, and I didn't realize that it was her collaborating with another individual, but I think the soundtrack on this was just like super fun. Like when it needed to be upbeat, it was upbeat. Like they had that song at the beginning, like that "Woman on Your Mind" song. As they're driving off from the, like every once in a while there's like a pop hit or whatever, but otherwise it's very moody and it's mournful and sinister. And yeah, it comes, you know, like I do think that adds a lot to what I've been talking about gravity. You know, I think that carries things down. A lot of horror movies will be absolutely fucking ruined by a bad soundtrack. Uh, Cynthia and I, we watched a movie by Mario Bava from like 53 or something like that, like called
Mhm.
Blood and Black Lace, or maybe it was 63. But anyway, it was amazing in every respect. It was fucking cool. It was, but it had the worst soundtrack. And
Oh, is it like an Italo
it
disco kind of thing?
no, it was more like a oh fuck, like a Henry Mancini kind of thing. I don't know if you know like who fucking Henry Mancini is, but like a Mexican horn kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it fucking sucked, and it completely ruined the movie. I it could have been like a 10 out of 10, but it ended up being a 6 out of 10 because you're just like, oh, I can't, I'm not scared, I don't feel anything happening here. And yeah, this movie, you know, does not it's not a good comparison otherwise, but it, you know, at least it has a good soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah, it has a fantastic soundtrack.
You know,
To tie up the thought that I started about slasher movies at start, so
Sure.
I finally like, yeah, I do.
Here we go.
I'm just gonna put a bow on it. Like we really did talk about it, but like just it's that idea that like slashers, like in this as the slasher progress, Halloween's a different story. It's really about sort of like the randomness of evil, I think. But like you know the sort of Friday the 13th, like the killer becomes almost like a repressive force that punishes promiscuity. That's where I was kind of saying going with that idea of subversion. Like now, and again, it's that sort of idea of like the repression being the danger, and it kind of taking the form of female desire.
Mm-hmm.
There's just another thing that this movie plays with.
Yeah, Mia Goth ends up being like the final girl who is also the Jason.
Yeah.
Or Freddy or whatever, you know, like it is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of a. I don't know if there's any precedent for that but it's pretty fucking cool now that I've said it out loud.
Yeah, I can't think of. I mean, I think
Yeah.
there's movies like I Spit on Your Grave or like Revenge or like things like that where there is like you know the woman pushed too far or just kind of like taking revenge. But not like this. I can't think of any like quite like this.
Well, it ends up being like a psychodrama. Like, and I think that's what adds an extra layer to all of this. It is Maxine in some way within her own mind. She's dealing with the repressive force of the father that she's escaped. She's dealing with her own desires. She's dealing with her own like anxieties. And yeah, you know, and they're like just dealing with herself.
Yeah. If Pearl just had access to cocaine, it probably would have all went well. She would have like
she probably
hit that stride.
Yeah, she probably could have had access to cocaine and did. Like she could have just went to her pharmacy and got it. Like things were different back then, right? Who says she didn't have access to cocaine? I guess we should pay attention to that when we finally get around to there. So have we? Did we get it? Have we done it?
I think that's it. I think it's in the can.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
I
in
think
the
so.
fucking can. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah. Cut. What's next? What is next after this? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Monster Squad and the Predator.
Oh shit, of course. Which I just watched.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So get ready for that, ladies and
Shane
gentlemen.
Black special.
Shane Black special. Very. Oh man, like wow, just problematic. Get ready to hear that word a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Next time on the X-tinction Agenda.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.